Madonna's story is not just about music, fame, or fortune. It is about an unstoppable spirit that refused to bow down to rejection, hardship, or the expectations of others, a story that begins in a modest home in Bay City, Michigan, where a little girl dreamed bigger than her surroundings could ever contain, a girl who lost her mother far too young, who faced the kind of pain that could break most children, but instead of allowing tragedy to destroy her, she used it as fuel to build herself into something larger than life, a beacon of resilience, ambition, and unshakable willpower. When Madonna Louise Ciccone was just 5 years old, her mother passed away, leaving a void that would never truly heal, yet in that void a hunger was born, a hunger to be seen, to be heard, to carve out a place in the world where her name would not be forgotten. That hunger carried her through her teenage years as she excelled in school and dance, displaying an intelligence and creativity that set her apart, but even then people underestimated her, labeling her too rebellious, too ambitious, too daring for a girl in a working-class Catholic family. She wanted something greater than a small-town life, she wanted to conquer the world, and that fire grew hotter with every limitation placed upon her. When she turned 19, Madonna made a decision that would change everything. She left college, packed up her belongings, and moved to New York City with only $35 in her pocket, a bold leap of faith that could have easily ended in disaster, but in her heart she believed that New York was the place where dreams either lived or died, and she was determined that hers would live. Arriving in the city with no safety net, no family, no guarantee of success, she took jobs wherever she could, waiting tables, posing as an artist's model, even working in donut shops, just to pay rent and survive, but behind every shift she endured was a vision of herself on stage, a vision she refused to abandon no matter how tough life became. The city was ruthless, swallowing up dreamers daily, yet Madonna wasn't just another dreamer, she was a fighter, and every time the city tried to break her, she came back sharper, bolder, more determined to leave her mark. She joined dance classes, absorbed the energy of the city, and began performing with bands, testing her voice, her stage presence, and her ability to electrify an audience. The music industry was not kind to her in the beginning, producers dismissed her, some told her she lacked the voice, others said she didn't fit the mold, and many simply ignored her, but Madonna understood something most people never grasp: rejection is not the end, it is a redirection, and every no only fueled her desire to find the yes that would change everything. Even today, after decades in the spotlight, she continues to push forward with the same hunger that brought her to New York at 19, reminding the world that true icons are not defined by one moment but by their ability to evolve, endure, and inspire across generations. As the 1990s dawned, Madonna faced a cultural landscape that was shifting rapidly, with new artists rising and critics predicting her downfall, yet instead of fading she reinvented herself yet again, releasing, like a prayer, a daring, deeply personal album that blended pop with spirituality and controversy in equal measure, sparking conversations about religion, sexuality, and identity that most mainstream artists would have been too afraid to touch. The music video for the title track ignited a firestorm, with religious groups condemning her imagery, but Madonna thrived in that tension because she knew that art was supposed to provoke, to challenge, to force people to think. Rather than shy away from the backlash, she leaned into it, proving that her courage was just as important as her talent. She didn't want to just make hits, she wanted to make history. The 1990s also brought Madonna new challenges in her personal life. She became a mother, balancing the demands of raising children with the unrelenting pace of global superstardom. For many, motherhood might have slowed them down, but for Madonna it added a new dimension to her artistry, grounding her while giving her fresh inspiration. She began exploring deeper themes of love, responsibility, and spirituality in her work, culminating in the critically acclaimed album, Ray of Light, in 1998. This album marked a powerful reinvention, blending electronic sounds with introspective lyrics, earning her 4 Grammy Awards and proving once again that she was not just surviving in the music industry, she was dominating it on her own terms. What set Madonna apart was not that she was always ahead of trends, but that she created them, shaping the direction of pop music for decades. She wasn't afraid to collaborate with younger producers, to experiment with new sounds, to reinvent her image yet again, because she understood that relevance was not about clinging to the past but about fearlessly stepping into the future. Throughout this period, Madonna also became a lightning rod for conversations about feminism, sexuality, and artistic freedom. She released her controversial book, Sex, which was met with outrage, fascination, and global attention, yet behind the scandal was a woman unafraid to claim ownership of her narrative, to speak about topics that society often silenced, and to remind the world that women had the right to define themselves on their own terms. Madonna's climb into the spotlight during the 1980s was no accident, it was a relentless pursuit of art, ambition, and transformation. While her breakout single Holiday gave her the first taste of international recognition, it was the release of her debut album and Then Like a Virgin in 1984 that made her a global phenomenon. But to understand Madonna's success, one has to understand the philosophy that shaped her: reinvention, fearlessness, and control of her own destiny. From the very start, Madonna rejected the idea of being molded by others. She didn't want to simply be another pop star, she wanted to define pop itself. This boldness is what pushed her from struggling artist to global icon. The 1984 MTV Video Music Awards became one of the most iconic turning points of her career. When Madonna performed like a virgin in a wedding dress, rolling on the floor and radiating both vulnerability and rebellion, the world gasped. Many critics were scandalized, but fans were mesmerized. That moment showed the power of shock, artistry, and courage. Madonna was not just performing music, she was rewriting the rules of performance. She understood that attention, whether positive or negative, could be harnessed as fuel for her career. Where others feared controversy, Madonna leaned into it, turning it into an art form. This ability to provoke conversation set her apart from her peers and ensured that she was never ignored. But with controversy came resistance. Religious groups condemned her, traditional critics dismissed her as style over substance, and even some industry insiders doubted whether she had real staying power. Yet every insult, every rejection, only fueled her further. Madonna once said, "I'm tough, I'm ambitious, and I know exactly what I want. If that makes me a bitch, okay." That mindset, owning her ambition unapologetically, was revolutionary, especially in an industry that often tried to silence strong women. She was showing the world that a woman could be powerful, provocative, and in control, without apology. By the late 80s, Madonna had become a cultural juggernaut. Albums like True Blue and Like a Prayer not only produced chart-topping hits but also told stories that blended personal struggle with universal themes. When she released Like a Prayer in 1989, she took one of her biggest risks yet. The music video, which included burning crosses and themes of race, faith, and injustice, was so controversial that it sparked outrage worldwide. Pepsi even pulled out of a multi-million-dollar endorsement deal. But Madonna didn't waver. She knew that art without risk is powerless. The scandal only made her more famous, cementing her reputation as an artist unafraid to challenge society's boundaries. Behind the glitz, however, Madonna's success was built on discipline. She was relentless in rehearsals, known for outworking everyone around her. Madonna was no longer just a pop star, she was an institution, a cultural force whose every move was watched, debated, and imitated. With the release of Music, in 2000, she proved once again that she could adapt to changing times, embracing electronic and club influences while keeping her unique stamp of emotional depth and sharp storytelling. The album topped charts worldwide, reminding the world that even after 2 decades at the top, she was still capable of defining the sound of a generation. What makes Madonna's success story even more remarkable is not just her ability to achieve fame, but her relentless determination to sustain it across decades when most stars fade after only a few years. She became a master of reinvention, moving from pop provocateur to respected mother, from cultural rebel to global philanthropist, while never losing the essence of her fearless spirit. During this era, she also expanded her influence into acting, fashion, and business. Her ventures into film, though met with mixed critical reception, showcased her refusal to stay confined to one medium. She launched her clothing line, fragrances, and other entrepreneurial pursuits, proving that she was as much a savvy businesswoman as she was a performer. Madonna also embraced philanthropy with deep passion, founding Raising Malawi to support vulnerable children and communities in Africa. This demonstrated that her vision extended far beyond music. Her success was not just personal but aimed at creating meaningful impact for others. She understood that real legacy is not just measured in records sold, but in lives touched, barriers broken, and opportunities created. As new generations of pop stars emerged, Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, and countless others, critics often wondered if Madonna's time had passed. Yet, rather than viewing them as threats, Madonna acknowledged their brilliance while continuing to carve her own unique space. In doing so, she inspired countless young artists who saw in her story a blueprint for longevity: never stop evolving, never stop questioning, never stop daring. Her 2005 album, Confessions on a Dance Floor, was another testament to her enduring power, becoming a global hit and filling arenas with fans who spanned multiple generations. It wasn't nostalgia that drove people to her concerts, it was the excitement of knowing that Madonna would always deliver something fresh, bold, and unforgettable. Even as she faced criticism for her age, with tabloids often mocking her for refusing to act her years, Madonna stood as a defiant reminder that creativity has no expiration date. She danced, sang, and performed with the same intensity as ever, refusing to let society's limited view of aging define her path. In this way, she became a pioneer not only in music but in challenging cultural narratives about women, fame, and longevity.